Hello YouTube, welcome back to my channel. My name is Neo. In this video today, I'm working on a return client. I haven't seen this client in so long. Her last set was the very simple medium length, short to medium length wedding set of that one color with the really pretty rhinestones around the cuticle. I will link that in the cards for you to check out. I have not seen her in months. She recently got married and I was so happy to have her. So she's back and she's getting her length. We're not all the way back to, the length that she started off with, but we're definitely longer than the set that we did before. So like I always do, I am starting off with spraying her down with some alcohol and pushing her cuticles back. As you saw, it's a rubber tipped cuticle pusher, so I'm not able to scrape the nail plate. I'm just pushing the skin away, the eponychium away from the nail plate, so that I can then go in with my diamond skiver bit at a very, very low speed. You do not want to use this at a low speed or angle it upwards to kind of grind off that dead skin. You want to keep it as flat or parallel to the natural nail as possible. And I really like this because after pushing the cuticle area away, I can kind of get the tip of this bit underneath the skin to kind of flake away excess skin that's like stuck on. So that's basically what I'm doing here, taking my time and going from right to left. Sometimes if the client has like extra sticky cuticles that are a little bit tougher to get off, I'll go in with the same bit in the reversed direction. So I'll flip my e-file to reverse and go from left to right to kind of go in the other direction to kind of flake away any skin that might have been pushed down in the right direction, if that makes sense. I'm not sure if you understand what I'm saying, but if you go in one direction, you can go in the other and kind of flip the skin back and forth so that it does come off. But I'm not using heavy pressure, I'm just letting the bit do the work. So I've switched to my mandrel bit and I've got a fine sanding band. These are from McCart, I think, from Amazon. I will link it down below, but it's just a fine sanding band on a mandrel bit, and I'm using the e-file at the same speed. And I don't know if you can tell, but I'm using extremely light pressure. There's very little dust, as you can see, coming off her nail. I'm not grinding down the nails. She hasn't had her nails done for a very long time, so there's not much to do. All I'm doing here is removing the shine and going over that cuticle area. If I see any more dead skin there, then I'll just use the mandrel bit to kind of remove that as well, but I'm not doing anything crazy here. After sanding down her nails very lightly, I'm going in with these new tips. So these tips are new. They are an extra long C-curve ballerina shaped tip, and I got them on Amazon. I've been looking for just different types of tips. I love the Two Guys One Step Coffin tips, those natural no C-curve stiletto tips, but I've been wanting something just a little bit longer that has something different to offer. So these tips are very interesting. They have a deep C curve. They are flat, but they have a curve at the top of the nail, kind of like an apex built into the tip, and they're a thicker plastic than normal. So they're kind of a heavier plastic. I wouldn't say they're as heavy as those extendo tips, but they're in between a regular tip and those extendo. They're really thick plastic. They are C curved. They have a half well. If you watch my videos, you know that I don't even bother with using the full well. I like to place my tip on the exact tip of the nail. I don't know if it was on this hand, but on a few of the fingers, some of the tips were giving me a little bit of a problem in terms of sticking with the glue. So I just used my hurry up spray. It might have been on the other hand, but I did have to do that once or twice just because the tips are a little bit longer and just have a little bit more weight to them. This client in particular does have some wobbly fingers, and I didn't even say it when I got to her middle finger. She was like, oh, here we go. And we had a laugh about it. But pretty much I think all the clients that I have, I noticed that a lot of people have crooked fingers. So in terms of combating that, when we get to, I don't know if you'll be able to see when we get to her middle finger, it does dip to the bottom left of the screen. So what I do with the tip, as you can see, I do not place that tip in line with that fingernail, I go in line with the knuckles. So as you see, the tip goes straight down with the length of her nail, and when I finish the set, the nails will look straight. If I had applied that tip with her fingernail, the nail for sure, because I've done it with her the first time I did her nails, will be going to that bottom left, and then you end up with a crooked nail and you're like, I don't know how to fix it, you got to take it off. So I always follow the knuckles and not the fingertips, because, you know, everybody's got wobbly fingers, and that's just the best way to do that. I went in with a tip cutter and just clipped them down. I was trying to convince her to go longer. When I first met this client, she came in and got like the ultimate extendo nail length, and I was like so excited, and slowly they've gotten shorter and shorter. So we were laughing about it today, or that day, to, you know, just slowly getting her back to that length. She's just like, it's coming back, but I gotta take my time. And I was like, all right, I got you, no problem. But the length is great, it looks gorgeous. And once she had this, you know, at this step, she was kind of like getting into the vibes and tapping her nails and kind of like, yeah, this is a good look, this is a vibe. So I'm going back in with that same sanding band and just smoothing out the transition from the tip to the natural nail. I'm doing my best to not touch the natural nail at this point, because we've already buffed it. I might go over any area where there's glue exposed just to rough that area up so that we have better adhesion, but nothing crazy. Then at this point, we have basically a kind of square shape, like a rectangular, just up and down square shape. She wanted more of a tapered square. So I'm going in with my 80/80 grit, and I decided to use an 80 grit on this set because the tips are a little bit thicker and they have a C curve. I want to be able to kind of grind down the sides of these tips. They are a little bit thicker. So I'm going in with my 80/80 just to give her a tapered square shape. Filing C-curve nails or C-curve tips is very different than filing natural curve or non-C-curve tips. Usually when you have a non-C-curve, you can just file the sides, but when you have a C-curve, I noticed today, I have to kind of file underneath and then guide the file towards the side of the nail to kind of get it to do what I need it to do. So you're gonna see me kind of angling the file underneath and then slowly rotating it towards the side of the nail to kind of get that nail tip to kind of thin out or taper towards the center for that tapered square. So that's basically what I'm doing here. As you can see, I'm squeezing the crap out of her fingers. Like I said, these tips are thicker, so if you don't brace the finger, it will wobble and possibly, and you know, hopefully we don't do this, but pull the nail bed a little bit away from the nail, which is really, really painful. I've done it to myself when working with those extendo tips. But yeah, I'm squeezing the crap out of her finger, and we are just filing to get a nice tapered square shape. After filing, I'm going in with the prep system that I normally use. I did skip a step on purpose. Just with this set, I wanted to try something different and just use the protein bond. So I went in with the dehydrator just to remove any moisture from the nail. And then I'm going in with the Young Nails protein bond. So I didn't use the Mia Secret extra bond. One of you in the comments actually suggested that. So I figured I'd try it on her to see if it might work. 2 coats of primer might be excessive. I just said, let's give it a shot. So I'm going in just with a thin coat of protein bond all over the natural nail. And it's very thin. Before we get started, I'm going in with my normal clear coat of acrylic on all of the nails, and I'm going down the length of the entire nails, especially because they are clear tips, and she was already talking about the next set that she wants, and it's going to be a jelly clear set. So I have to make sure that these tips are protected because I already know when it comes to filing, I don't want to have to worry about there being any color on these clear tips when she comes back in for a refill/redesign, especially since we're going to go for a jelly. So hint, stay tuned for that video. When she comes back, we're definitely going to do something cool and bright and jelly. So yes, but I'm going in with my Young Nails Core Clear. I'm using my Mia Secret monomer, and this brush is from Pana. I talked about it recently in another video. I've been using it now for maybe 2 or 3 months, and I really, really love it. It is sold out on Amazon, so that's really, really annoying, but I'm just so in love with this brush. It's a size 14, and it came crimped, but I crimped it even more. As you can see, it's super, super flat. I do enjoy that. A rounder brush is, I've worked with a rounder brush, especially when I was in nail school. We used a rounder brush than a crimped brush, but I love a crimped brush. It just kind of pats the product down for you. As you can see, I'm just kind of patting that clear acrylic down. I'm not building up any structure. The point of this is just to cover the natural nail, to get a nice acrylic base down. One, it helps me so that if I have clients who are fidgety or touch their hair or their phones, this acrylic layer protects that primer, so I don't have to worry about repriming or cleaning off the nail because they got dust over that primer layer. 2, it helps to protect the natural nail. If you go in with any darker colors that might stain or glitters that might be difficult to remove, this clear layer acts as a barrier between the natural nail and that acrylic color or design that you're gonna be placing on top. And 3, I know it's a long list. When the client comes back in for a refill/redesign, I can protect both the tip and the natural nail because I won't have to file down all the way through. I file until I get to this clear layer, and then I can stop, refill that clear layer, and then build on top of it. So that's why I do it. I like it. It works for me. So I see a lot of people don't do it. That's totally fine. This is just what I'm gonna do. My clients always get a clear acrylic layer before we start any design. I'm just focused on not flooding the cuticle and sidewall areas, making sure that I cover the entire nail, and I'm just being careful not to warp the shape that we've worked so hard to maintain at this point. So we are going spring, we are going florals. This is the flowers that we're going to be working with. I got these from Amazon and I bought them specifically for this client. So before she came, she sent me some reference photos. She wanted encapsulated tiny little flowers, so I had to make sure that I had enough. And I'm so glad that this set came with doubles or duplicates of the flower colors. It didn't come exactly like it was supposed to on Amazon. On Amazon, it had like different colors in it, but I'm really glad that it did give doubles in here because I had to use them. All 10 fingers are going to have tons of encapsulated flowers, so I needed them. So we're going in with the lilac purple, a hot pink, and an orange. And as you can see, I've got the backup colors on the table just in case. We are also going to be using gold foil in this set, just to make sure we have a hint of something sparkly. You know, I love a little bit of sparkle in the nail. And this actually isn't the color that I had planned for the nail bed areas of these reverse French nails. I was going to use Young Nails Cover Pink, but when she came in, she's like, where's my eggnog? This has been this client's favorite color since I think I posted a haul video of some sugar and cream colors, and she saw eggnog in that video and came to her next appointment, was like, that's the color that I want. And every time she comes, she's just like, where's my eggnog? So it was just so funny because I was just about to put that Cover Pink on her nail and she's like, that's not my color. So I had to like wrap it up and go get this color. So this is Eggnog by Sugar and Cream. It is a glow in the dark color. It's a really, really gorgeous acrylic. It works like butter. Sugar and Cream is so fantastic with their colors, and it's basically the same as her nail plate color. So I call it like a nail plate nude. It does have very, very, very fine shimmer, silvery shimmer in it, which I think is gorgeous, and it glows a bright, brilliant green. It's insane. So I am basically taking my time and being careful to basically do a reverse French here. So as you can see, I placed that small, I would call it a small to medium bead right at the cuticle. I'm patting around the cuticle just to make sure that the product goes down and doesn't flood backwards towards the skin, and then guiding that product towards the center of the nail, using the tip of the brush to kind of guide it back in, swooping side to side to make that French almondy kind of nail plate shape. Some people like a more rounded, blunt kind of shape. I like it to be more of like a long almond kind of shape. It just elongates that nail bed and makes the nail look a little bit more elegant, I think. I'm going to be doing this on all of the nails except for the ring finger. We were actually going to do it on every single nail, but I said to her, let's, mix it up a little bit and just skip one finger. So again, a medium bead, I would say. It's about a medium bead right at the cuticle, making sure to guide it so that it doesn't flood. And then as the product is going down, as you can see, I've got her fingers aiming down, using gravity and just the sides of the brush to kind of massage the product towards the middle of the nail, and patting with the body of the brush towards that middle area of the tip where I want that almond shape to kind of be, and then using the tip of the brush to kind of push it back and forth so that we get that almondy shape. If I feel like I got product where I didn't want it to be, because the acrylic is still a little bit wet at this point, you can just use the bristles of the brush to kind of push it back where you want it to be. I am going to go back in and file, but because we are doing a glass set, so I want the free edge of these nails to be completely clear, I'm just making sure that I don't get acrylic where I don't want it to be. We don't want to be able to see that powder when I'm going in with these encapsulated flowers afterwards. So basically this is going to happen again on the pointer finger and on the thumb. I'm not building it up too high as well. Some people, when they do reverse French, like to just do the reverse French and not clear cap. In this case, because I knew I was going to have to clear cap the tip anyway, I didn't build it up very, very high either. This is also a technique that I did in a recent video, the reverse French, but I did it with a black, like the complete opposite, a black acrylic. And we did moons and stars. We encapsulated rhinestones. It was super cool. I will link that in the cards for you to check out as well. But again, just making a really simple reverse French area in a nice long almond shape, just to make her nail beds look really, really long and pretty. It is tricky when the client has a crooked finger. So like on that middle finger, remember what it looked like in the beginning? Her fingernail is actually going down towards the bottom left of the screen. I placed that tip going towards the bottom right, so it kind of corrects, and if you look down the length of her knuckles, it does line up with the knuckles. With that reverse French area, you have to kind of go along with the knuckles as well, and not with her fingertips, because it'd be going down to the bottom, kind of like where my watch band is. So that's just something to keep in mind too. If a client has crooked fingers, and I have like 3 or 4 crooked fingers, just follow the knuckles, not the nail tip. And after wrapping that up, I'm gonna go in with a hand file, actually, the same hand file that I was using before, and I'm just going to clean up the smile lines of all of these nail beds that we created with our acrylic powder. So I'm using a very, very light hand. It is an 80 grit, so we don't want to file too much, but the purpose of this is just to make sure it's nice and sharp and to make sure that it's centered to the nail. We want it to be nice and even. So if you feel like you got product in an area where it kind of warps it to one side or another, or if it's a little too sharp or a little too blunt, you can use your file to kind of manage and get the shape that you're liking. I don't always hand file my reverse French areas, but in this case, because we were going with a glass tip, I wanted it to be super duper sharp and precise. So that's all I'm doing here. Not pressing too hard, just doing a light cleanup. Going in with my manicure brush, I didn't spray it down with acrylic, just using it dry just to get rid of any dust from that filing that we did. We don't want to encapsulate any dust in this gorgeous, gorgeous set, because then that would just defeat the purpose. So just making sure things are nice and clean, we got rid of the dust, and then we can get started with the fun stuff. So like I mentioned, we're going to be encapsulating flowers in this set on these glass tips around that free edge. So I'm going in with super duper wet beads of acrylic. I'm going to be placing varying flowers, the pink, the orange, the purple, and gold foil. So I've already shredded my gold foil on the table, and there you go. We've got one gorgeous orange flower, and I'm just going to be alternating the colors so that there's not too many of one color next to each other. One thing that I've mentioned before on my channel when working with flowers is that they are often just dry, right? They're crispy, they're dry, and nails naturally curve around. So the flowers in this case are not curving with the natural nail. So if you do not want to deal with that, I've seen people use like plastic wrap to kind of warp the flowers down. I have used water before. Just place your flowers in water. They kind of float on top, and then they get nice and soft and mushy, and then you can kind of wrap them around the nail. In this case, I didn't even bother. I just used the acrylic and the body of my brush to kind of push the flowers around and hold them until they kind of set in the acrylic. And because the French area is not so large that we can accommodate full flowers, I just went in with my tweezer and my scissors. Eventually I'm just going to be using my fingers because I was like, yeah, we just need to rip some petals off. I'm just trimming the flowers down so that we have some full flowers and pieces of the petals, or pieces of the middle, or half of a flower, just so that we have options to kind of squeeze around those French areas. So on all the nails that we did that French with the nail bed, I'm going to be placing the flowers around that, but on that ring finger, we're going to do a full nail of encapsulated flowers and gold foil. So like you saw me place a full orange flower, and then because we were able to trim that flower, that pink flower there, into that nice little cheese wedge shape, I guess you can call it, it fits perfectly in that corner of that almond smile line area. So I'm trying to make sure to leave some glass areas, like some free areas around, so that we can see through the nail. And because I placed the pink, we've got an orange flower, I'm going to try and get purple on there, just making sure that I don't have orange next to orange or pink next to pink, things like that. So just being creative in how I'm placing the flowers, and then placing gold foil all around so that we just get that hint of sparkle. There's not very much to say about it, but you can definitely watch. It is going to be a little bit long. This set took us about 3 hours just because of the encapsulation. I was taking my time and placing them very carefully, but nothing crazy. If it was a regular set, it should be done in half the time, but because it was a labor of love, and she's totally into encapsulating, that's her thing. So she was was excited, and it's her first set in such a long time. So yeah, you can just watch it, enjoy the process, I guess, you know, and I'll come back when it gets to something else. 80 million hours later, this is what her hands were looking like. We took our time. It's so beautiful, and the colors were just really, really great. At first, she wanted to incorporate green or blue flowers, and I was just kind of like, no, I had to put my foot down with her and be like, you know what? We're in spring. It's about the soft and pretty colors. Let's just stick with these 3 colors. And they came out super, super gorgeous, and she was so happy afterwards anyway. That's what's another thing. Just because your client is like adamant on giving you some, like having a specific design, doesn't mean that you have to just cave and give them exactly what they want. Oftentimes I find that if a client is uber specific about what they want, and doesn't, isn't open to your feedback, especially as an artist, you're a nail artist, you know color theory, even if you're not aware that you know it, you look at nails all day. If you have a suggestion and the client isn't willing to listen to it, 9 times out of 10 they end up not liking their nails. That's what I find. So it's always great, I think, for a nail tech, even if you're new and you're kind of nervous, you look at nails all day, you're probably on Instagram scrolling, you have an idea of what is aesthetically nice. So saying no to a client, or just being like, hey, I don't think that would be great, that might be too much, is great. Also, your client should trust your judgment as well. So we were happy that we didn't add any more colors to the set. We could have added green and blue, and it just would have been too much. I think these colors came out really, really great, especially for spring. You just kind of want it to be bright and pretty and floral. I was saying to her, I really do want to do a white floral set. I saw another YouTuber, his name is Luyan Dang, do a white floral set, and I was like, oh my gosh, that is gorgeous. And I have so many dried flowers right now. I'm just gonna start slapping flowers on all my clients' nails because I want to get them in before summer and spring is over, because you can't really do flowers in winter, but yeah, I want to do a white floral set, and I mentioned it to her, and I was giving her the eyes, and she's just like, nope, I want what I want. I'm like, all right, I'll get the next client, but yeah, it's time to clear cap, right? I totally missed that part. So I'm just going in with my Young Nails Core Clear, and we are clear capping the entire nail. So like I mentioned before, some people, when they do their reverse French, they don't even clear cap this nail bed area, but because I didn't build it up particularly high, I am just going to clear cap the entire thing, making sure to push that acrylic around those petals. Some of the petals are sticking up off of the nail, and if you don't do that, you will end up with air pockets in your nail. Sometimes you'll be able to see them, and it may compromise the strength of the nail. So you're going to see me mashing, kind of pushing that product around the nails, not just patting it down the length, but actually pushing it around those petals so that we make sure that the full nail is covered in acrylic, and then just making sure that we're doing the same thing. Yes, these are C-curve nails, and they're a little bit different in that you have to apply product to the sides of the nails too, but I'm doing the same thing in massaging that product, patting it towards the center of the nail. That's where we want the product to be, so you have the best structure for the nail, and then building up the apex, making sure that I'm not flooding the cuticle and sidewall areas. I say it all the time. And then making sure that the cuticle area is nice and thin. Some people do like their apexes to be back on, like around that cuticle area, but I like mine to be more moving towards that free edge of the natural nail, not necessarily of the length of the whole nail. So I like a thinner cuticle area, thinner sidewalls, and then more product build up towards the center of the nail. That's just what I like aesthetically. So yeah, that's basically what I'm doing. As you see here, I'm going in with a wetter bead around that side because I felt like there were flowers sticking up. I couldn't get the product all the way around. So like I mentioned, these flowers don't stay flat on the nail. Just making sure that I cover all around, especially when you're encapsulating pretty much anything, you want to make sure that it's fully encapsulated. You don't want to go into file and realize that you didn't get product around the back side of a flower and now the client's nail is exposed. You just want to make sure that you're doing a good job getting that product everywhere. So take your time and, do what you know how to do. As you can see, the cuticle area is nice and thin, and we're just going to pat, 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 make sure that the product looks good, and then keeping the sidewalls nice and clean so that we maintain that nice tapered square shape that the client was looking for. After that acrylic has polymerized, I'm going in with I love these narrow bits. This is a medium carbide bit. This is from McCart. I just recently purchased a new one from Kiara Sky in rose gold, which is my favorite color. So I'm super excited to use that. It's a small, narrow bit as well. I love a narrow bit. It's just so easier for me to control. I feel like the larger bits are cool, but I just feel like I have so much more control with the more narrow bits. But this is a medium. I'm using it at a medium to high speed. Use the E-file at whatever speed is good for you. You don't want it to be too fast where it's skipping around the client's finger, or too slow where it's bogging down to like slowing down or stopping. That means it's too slow. And you don't want it to remove too much product. So use the appropriate grit of a bit. So if you're someone who feels like a fine might work, or if you want to remove a lot of excess of product, then use something like a coarse, but I like to use a medium. It kind of just helps me get the job done. And in this case, I am cleaning up the sidewalls. You saw me going up around the right side of the nail, seriously just holding the bit up the right side, going side to side across the surface of the nail. Sometimes I'll swipe my thumb down the length of a nail to see if I can feel any like that. You'll see I'll feel any ridges or bumps or anything like that where I need to debulk or remove, and then cleaning the cuticle area. So this is a non-safety bit. I say it all the time. If you are uncomfortable using an E-file, make sure to use a safety or like a 5-in-1 where the top of the bit is a little bit rounded, so the client you feel safe around the client's skin, where you're not going to nick them or anything like that. And as the nail gets longer, I like to place, you'll see my ring finger and pinky underneath the length of the nail. That just supports the nail so that it's not wobbling around while I'm using the E-file. But basically, I am just debulking where necessary, making sure that I'm pushing that apex more towards the free edge of the nail. I don't want the back of the nail to be really bulky. That's just my aesthetic, preference. Everyone, does their own thing differently. I know like in America, it's different than it is in Russia, than it is in Europe. Like England. So, you just do whatever works for you or what you and your client like. And I am just smoothing out the surface of these nails before I go in for my hand file. And there I go, switching my grip on the thumb. I don't know what it is about the thumb, but I feel like I can't hold the thumb the same way that I hold other fingers. I don't know what it is. I said it to her today. I was like, hold on, let me, switch my grip real quick. But you do whatever you got to do to get the job done. I'm still being super careful. I've got my pinky stuck to her thumb as a fulcrum so I can use minimal pressure. So I'm not pressing down. You don't want to have like grooves in the nail, where you have like you dug into it too hard because you were pressing too hard, and then I switched my grip again. So yeah, I'm just using a light pressure and letting the bit and the speed do the work. And I'm also being super careful not to nick my client, and just to make sure that we have a nice smooth nail. After e-filing, I'm going back in with my 80/80, and we are just going to maintain that shape. So again, it's a C curve. You see I'm going kind of under the nail and then angling the file, rounding it towards the side so that we can kind of shave away from that C, because the product and the nail is on the side of the nail with the C curve as well. And then I'm going in my up and down motion to make sure we get a nice, crisp, super, super sharp free edge shape. So this client loves that super sharp shape. I said to her, I was like, I saw a meme on Instagram, and it was like, when you give your clients a super sharp, beautiful shape, and then they're like, can you round the edges, please? And then the meme, it was like the girl was like crying on the inside. And we had a good laugh about that. And I was like, please don't ask me to do that, because I really want these nails to be sharp. So she didn't. She loves a nice sharp nail, which I love. And over time, it does dull down anyway. When you're typing or, doing laundry or just, using your hands, your nails are going to wear down naturally over time. So it's always best to just, have a nice sharp shape. So I'm doing that here. I'm going side to side. Then you're going to see me squeeze the finger around that free edge. I've got my pinky on the bottom and my thumb on top. I'm squeezing really, really hard here. It's just, for a short amount of time, but it's to protect the client, because that wobble is very uncomfortable. And then I go in with that 80/80, and I'm just going up and down to kind of make sure I get that nice perpendicular flat shape that we want on that tapered square shape. Tapered square nail. I don't know why I said tapered square shape. It's a nail. So I did send her to wash her hands in the bathroom. She did, and she came back. I'm spraying her down with alcohol anyway and cleaning her off with my manicure brush. And these nails are looking really good, guys, like loving it. Last thing for us to do, I'm saying it's a simple set. It's not simple, but it's simple in the fact that we're not doing too much to the nail after it's already been done, is to Glossy Top Coat. I'm going in with my two guys, no wipe Glossy Top Coat on the top and bottom of the nails. I'm gonna have her cure both sides for about 30 to 60 seconds, and then the set is basically done. here is a shot of the nails. They look so pretty, and these colors are really, really pretty and bright and just beautiful for spring, and she really loved the gold foil in them. We did take a shot outside so that you could get them in natural lighting, but this is what they look like. Thank you so much for watching. Like if you like, subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.